join me in a brand new 718 Cayman GT4 with a PDK gearbox. I'm here at a Goodwood Media drive day and I wasn't sure what cars I'd get to drive today. I was looking forward to driving some out on track, but this beautiful red GT4 took my eye. Then I jumped inside and saw that it's a PDK, and normally that wouldn't excite me, but in this particular car, because of its long manual gearing, I'm really keen to see what this is all about. This has got the optional carbon buckets and a few other toys, but essentially it's a 718 GT4 and I can't wait to drive it, especially after recently driving the 718 GTS 4 litre. This has got the same engine, a bit more power. I believe it's about 420 horsepower in this. Let's head out and enjoy it while we can. We haven't got it for long, so I want to make sure everyone gets to drive this. Oh wow, it's just lovely being back in a Cayman again. I gave that GTS back about a month ago and I must admit, I really missed it and miss it still. It's just a fantastic car. You probably have seen my initial video on that and you can see how much I enjoyed it. So yeah, this is essentially the hardcore bigger brother. Not necessarily going to be a better road car, mind you. I'd love to take this out on the circuit, just see what it sounds like through this tunnel. Yes. I can already tell you that the gearing is a lot shorter. How much shorter, I'm not sure yet, but it's just, let's go and have a little play. Oh, fantastic. Well, it's been a while since I've driven anything with a PDK box and this just feels so quick, so smooth and so quick, unbelievable. This car's got cup 2s on them, so it might need a little bit of warming up, although it's about 20 degrees outside. Oh yes, well, second gear, I can tell you now, I didn't take it all the way to the red line because I'd still be breaking the speed limit, but second gear is definitely a lot shorter. In the manual version, second gear is good for about 85, 86 miles an hour. I would say, judging by the maths that I've just worked out in my head, second's probably good for 70 odd in this PDK car. So still quite a long second gear. Most second gears will struggle to reach 60 miles an hour these days, but somewhat shorter. It just means that on the public road you'll be second, third in most places, as opposed to first and second. Question that I'm going to be asking myself on this drive is whether I'm going to be missing that beautiful manual box. Long geared, but the action, it really is a big part of the experience of this car. Those gear changes, they're just instantaneous, absolutely. It sounds fantastic in here. It does sound a little bit louder, definitely louder than that GTS. They probably removed some of the soundproofing because it's the GT4. Maybe it has a slightly different exhaust system, I'm not sure. I really don't know too many things about this car because I've literally been given the keys and jumped in it. What I can tell you, it's probably retails at around £100,000 as optioned, and the chances of an average Joe getting a GT4 with a PDK box is about that. In terms of its ride quality, well, it definitely feels a bit stiffer and more purposeful than the GTS, which you'd expect, but not overly stiff and uncomfortable. Obviously that adds to its amazing stability under brakes. Turning is just so sweet. Oh, just lovely. In this driving position, have I banged on about this driving position enough already? It's very, very good. In this car with the fixed buckets, the rear bit or the backrest of the seat is not adjustable, so you do tend to sit very upright and close to the wheel, which kind of suits me, especially on track. This is almost a perfect driving position for me. But on longer journeys, when you do want to knock it back, you can't do that with these buckets, unlike you can do with, say, the carbon buckets in the new M3 and M4. Those are actually fully adjustable, which really makes it easy work on longer journeys. But as I say, it's a compromise that's worth having if you take this car out on track, or if you do some serious spirited road driving in it, because these seats are very supportive and they are very comfortable overall. Front end, these things just stay so flat. It is lovely just being able to grab the pedal and pull a gear out of a roundabout like that, but you're kind of lacking that engagement and involvement, which I go on about a lot on my channel. That's why I love my M2 competition, because it's not as easy as it could be. If my M2 was DCT, it would be faster, especially on track, because I'd have less things to worry about. I could just pull the pedal, there's no delay in the clutch and the manual shift. But that to me is all sort of part of driving my car, or driving a manual version of this. And although the PDK box arguably makes this a better daily and definitely a more capable car, just because of the shorter ratios, allows you to reach that power and torque, which is quite high up in the 4-litre unit, you do lose a big part of the driving engagement, if that makes sense. And although this is just brilliant, I think I would still have a manual version. I really do. Out on track, ironically, I would probably take this. And in the manual car, even though I've gone on about how long its gears are and too long for the public road because they're too fast, on the public road it just gives you something more to play with. Sounds, love the way it goes, the way it handles. They really have got everything right with this car. It doesn't feel blisteringly fast though, not really any faster than that GTS I had, but fast enough. The way it changes gear. Fantastic car. Brilliant, brilliant bit of kit. The worst thing about driving this car is seeing a 30 sign, because it just spoils your fun. It's no fun at these speeds. In fact, it's quite firm at these speeds. This is probably where it's at its least happiest. Give me a chance to have a look down the cabin. I love the two-tone, the red sort of highlights everywhere, the red door pulls. It's a really nice place to sit, and just like with the GTS, it's quite an old-fashioned cabin in here. In fact, this interior, I can see stalks and stuff here that are out of a 997, 911. You know, we're talking something that's over 10 years old, but it doesn't bother me because it works and I'm familiar with it. It's the same with all the PCM and stuff. It's quite dated now in here compared to a 992, 911, but that just doesn't bother me because it's tried and tested, it works. And let's face it, this car is just about driving. It really is all about driving and nothing else. I guess I need to give you some kind of conclusion after my very rushed 25-minute drive. Had to throw in some flybys in there as well, so been running around on this hot, lovely, beautiful day. Well, after spending a week with that GTS, it's definitely the better road car compared to the GT4, especially here in the UK where our roads are pretty bad, because this car with this setup just feels a little bit stiff, a little bit busy all the time. And don't get me wrong, it's probably far more capable and exciting when you're really pushing, and I'm sure on a track, especially with these Cup 2s and the aero, this thing's probably in a different league altogether. But on the road, if anything, to me it's really shown how good that GTS 4 litre is, because that car kind of had all the ingredients you wanted from this, but in a more user-friendly package. So maybe a GTS with a PDK for those of you that don't want those long gears and don't want to stir the manual box. But what would I have, GT4 manual or GT4 PDK? Well, that's a very difficult decision, and I'm sure it's an absolute first world problem. And without driving the new 718 GT4 in a manual, it is a little bit hard to judge and come to a decision. But I have to say, this just feels like such a capable weapon. It really does. And I think out on the circuit with the PDK, this would just be not untouchable, because it doesn't have the straight line pace that other cars have. For instance, I think my M2 competition, even in manual form, is probably quicker in a straight line than this car. Not by much, but it probably is, just because of all that extra low down torque. But compared to something like the new M3 and M4, I mean, those cars would absolutely smoke this car in a straight line. But GT4 is not about straight line, it's about driver involvement, driver engagement. And I really think because of that, I would probably still have the manual version, just because it's the best box in the world. It's the best box in the world. It's not the best box in the world because of the gear ratios, but the action, the way it works, the clutch, everything about that box otherwise is just fantastic. And I think if I had a PDK GT4, the excitement would wear off a little bit quicker than if I had the manual version. I really think I would only ever own a GT4 if I lived on the continent, Germany, where I could really drive it without all of our nanny speed limits over here, in which case I'll definitely get the manual. But I think, to be fair, there is no wrong decision between both the cars. There's absolutely nothing between them. One's got plus points, the other one hasn't, and vice versa. But let's just do another little tunnel squirt to first. Oh. Remember, this is supposedly cluttered up with OPF filters and sound restriction and all the rest of it, so fair play. What a surprise. I've got a big smile on my face after driving a Porsche Cayman. They're just brilliant, really are, and this is the pinnacle, although I really think the GTS 4 litre is the better road car. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed that one take style video. Sorry it wasn't too flash, didn't have too much time with it, but fantastic car. And yeah, thanks a lot to Porsche UK for letting me loosen it around Goodwood. Till the next time, I'll see you then.